Look what I got. A little early birthday present for Get Out and Fish. It's getting closer. It's almost time to start making my glide baits. Or any baits. Hard baits. Stuff that I can airbrush. Just gotta learn how to use it first. Alright, let's make some baits. Alright guys, back in the bait cave. It's today is 24 December 2022, and it just happens to be my birthday. So I'm celebrating. My family, our like traditional holiday drink is a little Crown and ginger ale, so I'm enjoying a little bit of that. And I've been wanting so bad since my last video to make another one. But time and life and work gets in the way. So I'm going to try and make this one a really good one. The bait we're going to make today is another 4-inch open pour, but it's been one that people have asked for. So today we are going to make my baby bluegill. I don't offer it much on my website because, after you'll see today, they're kind of a pain in the butt to make, but they look really good, and people seem to like them. But they are a pain to make, so I don't make a lot of them, and they don't. Because they're so hard to make, I charge more for them, so they don't sell a lot. Like there's still some available on my website right now, and I just kind of make these whenever I have time, and I really feel like mixing color. And I mean, this you're gonna see this is a 6 or 7 color bait. There's 6 or 7 different colors going on here, and you'll see how and why whenever we get to the plastic. The plastic's already mixed up from my last batch, so I'm not gonna go through each and every color individually, which is not as important as how I lay the color on. How I lay the color on is far more important than the actual recipe for the colors. There's a couple of reasons I don't want to give that out. One is because it doesn't really matter. I mean, you guys can look at that when you see each individual color. You can kind of infer for yourself, make your own changes, and add a little bit or take away whatever you want on your own. Plus, when I first started doing this, I spent the first year and a half, 2 years trying to get a good bluegill color, because that was my goal whenever I got these open pours, is get a really good bluegill color, and this is the one I'm most satisfied with. So I don't just want to give away all my hard work, but it's the colors just make up your own. You can kind of see how I do it, and you can use your own colors, and maybe you come up with something you like better, or something that is better, something that just beats my colors. This is just what I'm happy with. But anyway, we're going to go over the 6 colors. I'll give you like rough ideas. I just won't give you like exact recipes, but I'll give you the short of it for each color. And it's far more important how you lay this stuff on than the colors I personally made myself. Anyway, let's get these colors melted up, and we'll get started. All right, we are back. I got the first color heated up, and if you notice off the side here, I got a new tool that we'll be using. It is my little soldering iron. And this is how I apply stripes to my baits. I know there's a lot of guys that are good enough to pour them. I just never got good at it, and I just don't see it as a benefit to spend the time to learn how to do it. I don't know. I suck at it. So I just started using I got this idea from Marling Baits. He's basically my YouTube hero. Probably, if you're watching this channel, you already know who Marling Baits is. I don't need to go into it. He's basically the best. But I saw him, he put some stripes on an injection mold using he did all kinds of drawing with the soldering iron. Now this is a two temperature soldering iron. Ideally what you would do is get a variable temperature soldering iron, but these two temperatures just happen to work great for me. I put it on, this was a $20 little thing I got years and years before I even thought about making baits. I just had it around the house. But it has the 40 watt and the 20 watt. So what I do is I warm it up before I use it on the 40 watts and get it really good and hot. And then when I'm ready to actually start applying plastic, I put it on the 20. We all know that you don't want to get plastic too hot. About like just over 400 degrees Fahrenheit, the stuff turns into muffins. If you've ever burnt plastisol, you know. And it will clear out a room. You have to take the thing outside. It's ridiculously hot and it smells. Oh, it's a nightmare. And I've done it my fair share of times, so it happens to everybody. But this is what I do. I just draw the stripes on. Now, as far as the color goes, basically I'm using dead-on swim bait blend plastic. This is what I use for all my open pours. Dead-on swim bait or dead-on craw tube. That's all I use dead-on plastics for anymore, is for my open pours. It just, for me, it looks, they turn out great in the open pours. For like your injection stuff that people are going to be jabbing big old jig heads through, I had to switch to another plastic because I was getting complaints from customers about the plastic ripping. For all my other stuff now, I'm using the Bait Plastics 242. And it's kind of took me a few weeks to get used to, but that stuff is awesome. You don't have to degas it. I mean, works great for the other stuff. I tried it in my open pours. I just didn't care for it in my open pours. It's a personal preference. It's not right or wrong. It's just how I do it. I'm sure lots of guys out there open pour with the Bait Plastics 242 or some of their blends, and they do just fine. I just personally don't like it. It's just a personal preference. But anyway, I got swim bait blend dead on. There's a few bubbles in there, which is pretty. I mean, let's face it, dead on is notorious for having bubbles in it. With this, because I'm gonna dip my my soldering iron in there, I'm not too worried about the bubbles, because they're gonna be stripes. They're gonna be small little stripes on these 4-inch open pour baits. So I'm not too worried about it. The other ones, I will have to degas them because I'm gonna pour it, and the bubbles will show up if I don't degas them. To me, the degassing is worth it for the product I get with the dead on. That's just how I feel personally. There's a lot of guys out there that they have their tribal like side that they choose. I use whatever tool is best for the job. That's how I do it. I'm not tribally linked to any brand or anything like that. But anyway, let's get started. I'm going to run this through the microwave real quick and get a little more heat on it. And we'll talk and put some stripes on. Be right back. All right, we're back. We are ready to put stripes on. So as far as the color, you see a lot of guys out there on the soft plastic groups and stuff, and you'll see them, usually a lot of time it's the beginners, but you'll see they'll put like just a jet black stripe on there. And it gets the job done, don't get me wrong, but that's not how I make my baits. What I just want something to break up the regular pattern. I don't want a jet black stripe going through there. I just want something that kind of plays with your eyes. Right? Does that look jet black? You can see right through it. But it's there. And whenever you see bait fish or bluegills, those colors, those stripes aren't just jet black. You can kind of see through them. They're not like, they just kind of break up the pattern a little bit. And that's all I'm trying to do. So what I do to get these stripes, this is just a little bit of, I think, like a few drops of black and a few drops of green pumpkin. maybe some watermelon in there. I don't remember the exact recipe for this off the top of my head, but you can kind of see it's not just black. There's some green in there. It's not completely opaque. It's pretty transparent, and that's all we want. Just something to break up the normal pattern of the bait. There's no flake in there or any powders. It's just a few drops of black, a few drops of some green, and boom, we're off to the races. So let's get a little bit on our soldering iron. Let me get the other side. I'm just going to do one because this is going to take a while on camera, and then I'm going to do the rest off camera, and we'll go on to the next color. All right, see, that's pretty hot. We'll let it cool off a little bit. There we go. We're just going to take a drop, let it drip on there, and then you can kind of manipulate it on down. And I'm telling you, you're gonna look at these stripes and you're gonna be like, oh man, that doesn't look right. Whenever it's all said and done, it looks great. See how that's just a little darker green, black, green kind of thing? That's all you're looking for. And that will change the whole illusion of what you're putting on for this bait. I think my soldering iron is just a little too hot for right now, but it'll cool off. And the sloppier, the better. I mean, these turn out really great every time. It looks awful when you're putting it on, but then when you finish the bait, it's like, oh, this turned out pretty good. Because what it's going to do in the mold is when I heat it up, they're all going to melt together anyway. Right? I do 4 right down the back. Let me put a little bit more on this guy. There we go. See if I can get it down a little further. There we go. There's a little mess up right there, but I can pull that right off. Let's do it right now. Right. These are going to happen. We'll wait till we do some more, we'll get some more plastic on this mold, and then we'll be able to, I can do it now, but I don't want to risk ripping that stripe off. But it's easier whenever you pour across those later. All right, so that's how you do the stripes. It looks more green than black, doesn't it? There's not a lot of black in there. It's not, you don't want a jet black thing that takes over the whole bait. You want it to kind of fool people's eyes, or that's how I feel about it. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to finish these up, and then we'll go on to the next colors. All right, we are back. Got the next color fresh out of the microwave. It's good and hot, and we want it hot because we're pouring on cold molds, so it's going to set up quicker. And I'm kind of going to want it to be good and hot because what we're going to do is we're going to take this beautiful blue pearl. Actually, let me talk about that first. I used this pearl turquoise powder. It is just beautiful. And that's kind of what screams bluegill at you when you look at these baits. It's very bluegill blue, in my opinion. I use a lot more of it than there's actually in the like a picture of a bluegill. There's more blue in my bait than there is in like if you looked at a bluegill. But it just kind of makes it pop, in my opinion, and I've thought about changing it. I just never did because I just think it looks good. But I use that powder from Lurecraft. It's the only place I can find turquoise powder, and it works, and I like it. And I think I use a little bit of phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is it's just something you're going to have in your arsenal. That's kind of one of my must-have colors. And a little bit of that Lure Works phthalo blue goes a long way. It works in so many different applications. But anyway, let's get to pouring this. I got it about 370. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to fill in this head part. Ideally, if I was perfect, I would just, from the gill forward, would all be blue. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in this little crevice in the nose. You have to kind of guesstimate it, and then manipulate it. Sometimes you have to add a little more. It's no big deal. It's gonna heat up and blend together. But you just want to fill that whole cavity in. Just like that. So I pour it in the crevice and then I manipulate it with gravity. Let it fill in that area that I want it. Do one more on camera, because I don't know if I got all that on camera. And I'll do the rest off camera. So I'm going to fill in this cavity as much as I can. And then get it all in that area. Just like that. And it's not, I mean, it's a powder, and it's not completely like opaque. Like you can still see the aluminum in the background when you look at this. So again, it's a less is more. That's kind of been my philosophy in bait making. There's sometimes where I go thicker on the pigments and powders and everything, but for the most part, I like the light to talk more than just pigment. Do the last one right there real quick. I'll do the rest off camera, and then I'll have the other color heated up and ready to go when we come back. See you in a few. All right, we're back. Next color is vacuumed and heated, ready to go. And this is going to be that orange belly that really collides with that turquoise blue, and it just makes, I mean, it makes the bait pop. So literally, all this is a few drops. If I can find it. There it is. Dead on orange. And you can tell how often I use this, but a little bit goes a long way. There's only a few drops of this in there. The dead on orange. I'm coming lately to really, really appreciate their colors. And all I do on top of that, it's a few drops of that dead on orange, and then I put some 0.015 medium flake in there, black flake. And just a little bit. I just want to see it every now and again, just to kind of add some texture, as Chris Jones would say. It just looks good. I don't know. But literally, all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour that orange. I want to make kind of like I think in my head, it's kind of like a triangle that's dammed up by the blue and the stripe right here. So I'm really just going to get this area right where my fingertip is blocking with the orange. And we will give it a few shots on camera. Yep, and then you manipulate it with the gravity. Let it overlap some colors. That's always a good effect. Let it blend, let the light work with it, let everything happen, and that's what you get. That's all it is. Do one more, and then I'll get the rest off camera, and we'll be back with the next color. Because I have a habit of talking way too much. We are back. And the next color is ready to go. And you can see it is just a watermelon with some 0.035 flake in there. And just a little more than a touch. Like I just want to see it every now and again. And it's not like just a little bit, but it's not a lot. It's just kind of like per cup, I would say it's probably like a quarter teaspoon or an eighth of a teaspoon. Put it that way. Let's say an eighth of a teaspoon for a whole cup of plastic. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and pour that, and that is just going to go right across the stripes. I want to get those pieces of flake nice and spread out. Might have to run it back and forth a few times, but that's all we want. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour another color for the belly, but we don't want the belly to be this color. We want you to see this color go into the belly color. That's why I skin pour this. It just gives it more realism, in my opinion. So we'll do one more on camera, then I'll do the rest off. And see that flake in there? I'll run it down, run it back, try and get the flake nice and spread out. See how it's nice and spread out? All right, that's all for that color. And then after this, I'm gonna have them put together, sitting on the griddle, get nice and hot. We're gonna need a lot of heat. I'm gonna let them cook a little longer than I would other baits because there's so many colors I need to melt together. I really want to get it good and hot. All right, we're back, y'all. And I decided to get a good view of this so you can see my pores. I've noticed in some of my videos my pores aren't ideal on camera, but it's hard to capture it with the GoPro. But if I get more subscribers, I'll buy a better camera. But besides that, I'm gonna pour the belly, and this is what we got here for the belly. It is just basically your run-of-the-mill white pearl and less than a drop of dark watermelon. So to get less than a drop, there's lots of ways you can do it. I'm going to go over it in other videos. But less than a drop, and I just basically dab a little bit in there and stir it up and darken it up a little bit. And obviously white pearl over time. I've used this plastic many times because I've made a big batch of it. And it kind of fades a little bit, which enhances it, but this looks awful in the cup. I'm not going to lie. But in the belly, it looks really good because I don't want to have all these green and different colors. I don't want a bright, shiny white. I just feel that this kind of off-white, this dirty white, it almost looks like a burnt white, but it's not. It just looks better. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. And this isn't my usual pour, where I pour up to halfway up to the eyeball or over the hook slot and then pour a vein. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pour it as much as I can till it is ready to start going over into the tail. I'm going to pour it up as high as I can, but not let it go into the tail. That's my whole goal in pouring this right here. So it's good and hot. Molds are hot. I'm going to go ahead and try and get this on camera and pour them. Yeah, it's flowing really good. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to hit it up and high, as far back as I can. Good and slow. I don't want any to go back in the tail of the mold. I think right there it'll flow just to where it should be. So I'm going to go to the next one here. Marathon, not a sprint. I say that all the time. Also, if you pour it too fast, it influences, like, it'll introduce bubbles into your plastic, which you don't want. So good and slow pace, hot molds, that's all you want. Right there. And then we'll get this last one. Nice and slow. And that should do her. Now I got the other plastic pretty much ready to go. I'm going to go grab it. And I'm going to pour it at a cooler temperature only because the cooler the top layer is, it's almost going to be like a syrupy, like maple syrup kind of consistency. You don't want it. Whenever you have a hot plastic and then letting it cool, it tends to like make little curves into the back of the bait, down the spine. If you pour it colder than the other plastic and then let it cool off slowly, you won't have that effect. So I'll be right back, and we will get these topped off, and then we'll open these babies up, and you can see the fruit of our labor. All right, I'm about to grab the last color out of the microwave here in a second. There it goes, and we will top these off. Now this last color is about maybe 150-ish. It's kind of gonna be a little more. It's gonna be a little firmer. It's gonna be more viscous, I should say. or less viscous. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but it's going to be not watery, we'll put it that way. You'll fill up this tail first. This is just a darker version of the skin pore green. Maybe I might have put it like a dab of black in there, and there's a 0.035 flake introduced into this as well. Awesome. First one was a success, and then we'll get these last two ever so slowly. All right, we're back, and these are cold enough to touch by hand. So I'm going to open these up, and yeah, you can see how I make my baby bluegill. That is kind of popular. Some people love it. Some people are like, oh, it's too expensive. Well, it's what it is. I mean, y'all saw from this video how hard these are to make, and the time and effort it takes to make a batch of them is just ridiculous. And I want to offer them, but I don't want to be slaving over a griddle all the time trying to produce enough, so I made the price a little more. But anyway, let's see what these bad boys look like. Not too shabby, right? I like it. I love how I like the skin pore with the flake, so it keeps it suspended without it sinking to the bottom. The tail, if you could see through there, you could probably see some of that flake at the bottom, but there's not much you can do about that. Yeah, let's put an eyeball, or actually let's open the other one up. There we go. Not as much flake suspension in that one. I don't think I poured it with enough flake in there in the first place. It didn't sink to the bottom, you can tell. But let's get some eyeballs on these bad boys. Just a little dab. There we go. And with all the other things I said that makes these baits pop, I think the crowning touch are these red 3D eyes. They just really just finish off the bait really well. Now, put another one on there. Super glue goes everywhere. Another dab on there. There we go. All right. Now tell me that isn't a pretty looking bait. And you guys can do this at home. Obviously, you're going to be making your own colors, but I gave you kind of a rough idea of what colors I use, and it's really a bunch of simple colors just poured somewhat cleverly. That's all it is. There's no like secret recipe where that's the only way this can look good. It took me a long time to get to this point, but with the way I laid the color on will save you a lot of time when you're coming up with your own stuff. So that's really all I wanted to show y'all. I hope you enjoy it. A lot of people asked for this. I wasn't comfortable giving away the actual recipe since I worked so hard on it and all that, but yeah. So some business to clean up business. The last video I did was my 300 subscriber giveaway. I'm almost to 400, by the way, so if you would, please like and subscribe if you've never been here before. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff in the future. I already have a bunch of cool ideas for 2023. But my last video I did the giveaways. 2. I ended up doing 4 because I used the wrong link and I gave away 2 people's names that didn't actually win, but I call their names out on YouTube, so I send them stuff. One of the swim bait I made in my last video, no one ever claimed it. I sent it. I gave my email on his comment that it was drawn. He hasn't contacted me. I'm going to give him a little more time, but if I don't hear from him from the next video, I'm just going to send those to someone else. So if you want a chance at getting those, if that guy doesn't ever get back with me, comment on this video, and I'll try and get those out to you as soon as possible. But I didn't get anything from him, so. Anyway, I had neighbors walking by, but yeah, I will definitely end up sending those to someone. But if you comment, be ready to, like, if you win, be ready to give me your info so I can send it to you. Get that cleared up. All the other prizes were given away. Yeah, I give away a lot of stuff. I just can't. I can only do so much. If I don't get the info from you or an address, I can't create a shipping label. So, and other than that, some other news. I just, as you saw in the beginning of the video, I finally got my my airbrush, an Iwata HPC airbrush. I've been told that's like the top of the line for airbrushes, or one of the really good ones anyway. So I just got to learn how to use it. And in the next few months, I'm hoping to get started on making my glide baits and my, more like hard lure type baits. And you guys get to watch me learn how to airbrush. So that'll be fun. And I'm going to start creating content for my Patreon page, which I have started. It hasn't gone live yet, but I have created an account, and I am trying to decide what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to give you guys good reasons to be Patreon members if you want to be a Patreon member. You'll get extra content. You'll get, whenever I start getting like new molds in, and you guys will have first crack at the baits I get, and stuff like that. Extra content, like videos where I'm not comfortable giving the recipe away, but Patreon members will probably get the actual no BS recipe for some of these, if that's what you want. But anyway, all that said and done, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my birthday and have my wife spoil me. You all have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2023 with some new awesome content in the works. So thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe, and as always, tight lines.